This is Calcat the Calicaster, and this is a review of Domino, the Orville penultimate episode of the Orville. I think it's the penultimate. Well, there's 10 of them. This episode is starts out with a scene that the main characters wouldn't see. Alliance between the Mocklin and the Krill. The Krill, yeah, where they the Krill are sort of the Romulans and the Mocklin are sort of Klingons, basically. But they're vampire Krill, so they're more like vampires. Then you have, these that corridor set that they used before for the Mockless corridor. They have this fast looking alien corridor. I'm assuming it's at one point for the space station, but if it was a Mocklin base, that's fine. They just lit it differently. Basically this alliance happens, and then we go back to the Orville and the crew doing some. They've invented a weapon that can. Ensign Kelly. There's a lot of Kellys in this. There's a Kelly and a Kelly. Kelly Garcia. Yeah, they like that word because Silly Kelly from On Location and Starship Locations. They like that name, so they keep using it. They like that name. Just like over on the other one, they like the name Cal. So anyway, so we have not realizing it's the same guy. He's playing different characters. So we have battle with the K1. They go to the K1 planet with the nuke. After the command people tell the Orville to go to the command planet with a nuke. It's kind of a nuke. It's kind of an EMP nuke, and it blows up Kalon ships because it's designed to do that. So it's that novel shell game from back in the day from the original Star Trek. A number of other things too. A little bit of it is Brandon Braga and Rene Echeverria and a bunch of other DS9 people, so there's clearly a reference to that. And the Kalon are clearly the Borg, or a version of the Borg. Except they were enslaved by their masters earlier, so they're not really Borg, but they're Borg-like. Okay, so they're robots, transformers. They go to Cybertron-looking planet. Yeah, not sure how that would work. It's interesting in sci-fi how, like, if there's only dozens of people in a given place, then the world building is done. So it's like, or one or two people can decide the fate of the destiny of the universe. They do that a lot. Sci-fi, because there were millions of other people involved in sci-fi and fantasy. A conspiracy works because there's always something, because there's nothing to botch it up. Apparently the Ted Danson character Admiral Perry, his name was Carey, but it's Perry, sacrifices himself to turn himself over to the he figures out the alliance is going on, and he steals the weapon and gives it to the Krill, basically vicariously through other people. Steal the weapon while the Orville crew is relaxing in Canada somewhere watching the Aurora Borealis. Mark's cards actually referred to the Aurora Borealis scene on Thursday, inadvertently, because he'd written the Aurora Borealis story when he was in so there's a reference to Mark's cards in this story, which is thought they must have read it. They must have gotten hold of his short story incorrectly, the burning ions in the story that he mentioned just recently. Apparently he saw the Orville episode. Maybe not. Maybe it's a coincidence, or maybe it's not. Krill Chancellor lady risks herself, because of course she does. That's it, to go to this staging base where they're doing a Death Star type of thing on a planet. The evil alliance is building a weapon, super weapon out of the weapon, a giant quantum cord, which they apparently finished in days, which is impressive. So they got to go to the planet and stop it. So it becomes the half an hour of it is a Star Wars thing, because they clearly saw the end of Picard season 1 and were like, we can do that better. They did, but yeah, it would have dragged on for another half an hour. They did a Star Wars ending. They did the Death Star battle, but in an atmosphere. They did. It's clearly what they were doing. They also did a Death Star battle. They did a dogfight. They did psyops group going into the planet story. They did space fleet of different looking ships and similar looking ones. So they definitely did that. The Kalon ally with the Union in the story because they don't want the super weapon in the hands of the Krill and the Moclan Alliance. So they temporarily ally, and then they're going to be allies. The psyops team goes down there, and we get the Krill lady fights Clark's the commander lady in the catfight. The epic scene that years ago, Deep Space Nine. All right, Deep Space Nine set up here. Kira and Kai Wynn were at loggerheads all the time. Kai Wynn was the diplomat, the evil sorceress pulling the strings on Deep Space Nine, right? In the finale, Kira's somewhere else and never gets to fight Kai Wynn in the finale. Cisco gets to fight Dukat and Kai Wynn instead. And it should have been Kira. All of the DS9 fans, back in the day, I was one of them, like, why did they not do that? I don't know, because the early, when that episode aired, the finale, it was 1999, early internet, everybody had access, because they didn't know how to. I was one of the people who had access. And yeah, so, they all had access. And so, yeah. Yeah, so we knew. We discussed the finale of Deep Space Nine for weeks. When it first aired, we actually had Baranus and Vichavera and Moore and Ira Bear and all of them on there and discussing the finale and what they couldn't do because they ran out of money. So they showed like a space fleet that didn't happen. Giant, enormous space fleet shows up, didn't happen. And this is connected to this story because this story wanted to rectify that vicariously through another series. Vichavera's involved. So they're like, oh, we're going to do the catfight. We're going to do the fight scene between Kai Wynn and Kira, but it's going to be the commander lady, and it's going to be who's clearly supposed to be Kira, and the vampire lady. They're going to fight, do the cat fight, because we wanted you got Deep Space Niners back in the day, DS9ers. We wanted you to go like, hey, wait a minute, we're going to give you the cat fight. So we gave you the cat fight, and here's the cat fight that you didn't get in 1999. So it's like 2022 now. Get the cat fight. So yeah, so they get the cat fight, and she gets arrested at the end. They stop the mega weapon, but at the sacrifice of the ensign girl who created the weapon. Isaac and the Kalon, and they hold off the bad guys while they self-destruct the machine, because that's always the way it goes. They essentially build a nuke and then blow it up. The Shell game was similar in that one, as well as Time Trap, some of the Star Trek novels. As well as there was a scene similar in Near Space with a super weapon that was created. So it's a sci-fi trope. Super weapon that we've created that they on the Enterprise or whatever. And they need to stop that super weapon, because if they don't, then the thing they've created becomes like a modern-day Prometheus, a Frankenstein monster thing, and will destroy everything. The premise being creating a nuke does this. You see, makes everyone bad. So Ted Danson's character was blown up, was killed, but I guess he didn't want to be in the next season, and then the ensign was killed because he didn't want to be in the next season. If they do a next season, this episode was called Domino. And yeah, so the DS9 guys back in the day would have talked to us, just us fans, and discussed the finale. They didn't know, they didn't care that we didn't work on the production or anything. Although under my real name, I did actually have one script out for them and another one on Voyager. So mark the cards under his real name. And yeah, so there were two. The DS9 one became heavily rewritten under another called The Ship. And the Voyager one was sprinkled out on the 3rd to the 7th season in different places. So, but they never officially said, here's your script, we're going to use it, we're just going to send it back after the writing contest is over. And it was a writing contest, and so yeah, they don't do that now. There was I encountered a recent scriptwriter. I don't think they do any. Yeah, television and script writing is you're not going to get hired. They didn't want to do it completely in-house. Back in the day, when when it was the Wild West of the internet, and they didn't know who they were talking to really, and they didn't care because they knew, well, they're not really gonna show up in L.A. and pitch a story. I didn't think, but yeah. So that was back in the day. The Orville is trying desperately to be next generation in DS9. A little bit of DS9 thrown there. Yeah, so they kind of had to end the thread of the Kalon in the story in a pleasing way, sort of, because that was a little rushed, I thought, but I guess they had to do that just to say, okay, the robots, it's an armistice more than a treaty. It's an armistice. It's different. There was a funny, probably a visual phrase. One of them, they kept because they were doing a dogfight scene. They finally showed the fighter after like 9 episodes, introducing the pilot, the fighter doing stuff, and one of them says, "The enemy, the bogey's at your 6," which I thought was funny because he wasn't at his 6. So like on the faces on a clock. So when you're flying in a plane, my late father who passed away in 2009 was a World War II veteran, an Air Force C-47 cargo transport plane. So at your 6 or at your 12 or whatever, up and down and all that. I know what that is. It's in a plane. You know, he was a radio guy, but in a plane, that's what that is. So there's a clock. You know, like a clock with numbers on it. It's probably really a clock with numbers on it. What's that? You know, a face clock. You can look that up out there. Clock that had numbers on it. So 12 o'clock is high, and down below is 6. Down underneath you, the plane, and so you got 3, and you got 3 o'clock, and you got 9 o'clock, and 12, 3, and well, from my angle, 12, from your angle, 3, 6, 9. The guy was not at his 6; he was at his 3. He was over here. It was, oh, he's at your 6, isn't he? No, he's at 3. If he was at your 6, he'd be under you. In which case, you're screwed. Your belly of your ship is like getting shot at from underneath. Or if he's at your 12 o'clock, often the enemy would be at your 12 o'clock, be right above you. That wouldn't be good either. Probably at your 3 or your 9 next to you. If their guns fire forward, at 3 or 9 would probably be safest. He wouldn't be, you're right next to the bad guy. He's not going to be able to use any side guns on his plane because he probably doesn't have side guns. Maybe. Also, the defense system fired off some ground-based, looked like assault weapons. It'd be funny if I want the Sacred Cow Shipyards is a Navy guy. He should do a thing on the Orville tech and did this episode, the dogfight. He should do that. So I don't know who he is, but he should totally do that. It's like, he'll be face palming, going, oh no. That's not how you do a dogfight. In the sky. Yeah, at your 6. He wasn't at your 6. He wasn't underneath. He's at your 3. Well, that was probably vision. I guess he just spout off lines, you know. You know what else would work? I guess it would work the other way too. You could have, but they wouldn't say at your 6 if he was behind you going forward. The face goes up like this. So yeah, he would say if the bad guy was on his left wing or his right wing, port and starboard still, you know, maybe. That wouldn't be at your 6 either, because that would be 9 and 3, port and starboard. It would still be, left and right. You'd say at your left or at your port, at your right or at your starboard. He'd be yelling, on your left. Yeah, on your wing. On your right, on your wing. So, anyway, so yeah, on your wing. Yeah. No. 6 o'clock high. That's impossible. No. Again, 12 o'clock high. Even though in space, technically they wouldn't have a horizon, so it would be all coordinates. Yeah. So in the Deep Space Nine finale, they had a fleet of super enemy ships that shows up simply to blow the shit out of everything. And they cut to commercial, and when the commercial's over, they're literally landing on the planet going, "We defeated them." They did not show it. It's not there. Oh, we're going to go down to the planet and step on the dead Cardassians. Ha ha ha. It's like, you need to show the space battle. Yeah, that you've been building up for 2 years. Show the space battle. No, we just didn't get around to it. Oh. Ira himself commented on on the blog years ago that I was on. Transcarta and Chimera and other characters. We were all on there. And there were other ones that were similar to me. And they're like he didn't care. He was like yeah. He even called the shapeshifter lady just the queen lady, the alien queen. Yeah, he touches the alien queen's heart, and I didn't give a shit at that point. He just ends the war by touching her heart, and even though many other times Odo had merged with the queen lady and not done anything, but for some reason he's got the cure and fixed her. I'm so grateful for the cure. It's not how you end the story like that. It's not satisfying at all. It's anticlimactic. And yeah, Kira being the butt-kicking fighter they built up, this space fighter lady, having her not get to beat the living tar out of Kyvanus. Like, why not? It set up the whole season like that. She says she's a badass. Anyway, so, but yeah, this one redeems it because Andrea Paramus and Brendan Braco were actually on this episode. It was directed by the guy that directed the 2 others. I'm probably going to pronounce his name wrong, so I'm going to try. But anyway.